Okay, so Terry McAuliffe making his farewell speech last night. We were at the mansion, and I know a lot of people, I'm driving them nuts here, but I call him Governor McGenius. I think this is one of the best governors we ever had. I love this governor. I think he did a great job. Everybody gets their panties in a wad about always running for president, and he all did this for his resume, and green tech, and the cars, and Mississippi, and the visas, and the Clintons, and this and that, and all this stuff. And I get all that. You don't like him, but if you look at what he did for governor, he's been a great governor, and he was right on Medicaid expansion. And by the way, so is Glenn Davis, who's coming up right now. So I give him an A. I don't give him an A plus because he did screw up the thing with the $1 million phony Chinese company. They didn't do the proper vetting on that. But when you look at his accomplishments, I mean, there's a laundry list from fixing the Port of Virginia in Norfolk to getting the roads done. I know you don't like the tolls on 66. They're trying to get that done. They have the right idea. They're trying to figure that out. So that's still in play. But you look at a lot of the accomplishments he's made. I mean, jobs are up. Employment is up. Unemployment is down. And, he's done a fabulous job, and he's brought a lot of jobs, and he's worked his tail off. And, yeah, he vetoed crazy stuff that would have hurt our economic expansion. And he fought for the pipelines, and he fought for gun concealed weapon reciprocity, right? Don't forget that. This guy did a lot of things for Virginia. So I give him an A, and that's why I call him Governor McGenius. And he's running for president. And he's going to be tough. And we're going to be following his campaign. And we don't want him to be the nominee because I think he's the only person who can beat Trump. And I've told the president that. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Joining us now, to really give you the insight, House of Delegates member Republican, Virginia Beach, Glenn Davis. Glenn, good to have you.
John, good morning. Glad to have you back in Richmond.
Okay, so you're in the majority. David Yancey gets seated. Shelley Simons concedes. You got a new speaker, Kirk Cox. I know he's your friend. So what happens now?
We start the job of governing. Up until this point, it's been politics. Now that's finally behind us, we had a really good first day of session. It went extremely smooth. The new speaker was elected unanimously across the full House of Delegates. The new rules were adopted unanimously across the full House of Delegates. So it gives us a great foundation on which to have a very, very effective and productive session.
Okay, so Glenn Davis, let's talk Turkey, okay? So your Democratic colleagues are having a press conference today on Medicaid expansion led by embattled Minority Leader David Toscano. I talked to him last night, and he said he had the votes in the House. Now, I don't know if he was just saying that or not. That's an anecdote. But here's the deal. So the Democrats in the House are going to put forth legislation for Medicaid expansion. They're going to get 49 Democrats to vote in favor of it. That means they need 2 Republicans. That's it, 2. And then it flips, and then they've already got it in the Senate because all 19 Democrats are going to vote for it. And I talked to Senate Hanger last night, who said he was voting for it, makes it 2020. Justin Fairfax breaks the tie. Northam signs it. So 2 people in the House of Delegates in Virginia stand between Medicaid expansion and not Medicaid expansion. What will happen?
Well, I can't speak for others, John, but I understand the Dems are coming forward with a, let's expand Medicaid. Let's do this, and we'll wait to see what waivers we can get. I was excited this morning. I'm sure you were as well when the president came out and said that he's going to allow work requirements with regards to Medicaid. Jason Miyares actually has that bill in. So maybe Jason's a little bit of an oracle. We'll have to find out. But the Dems are going to run with some straight Medicaid expansion. We'll worry about the waivers later. It's not going to fly with me. It's not going to fly with the overwhelming majority of my caucus. And honestly, I'm not quite sure who it does fly with in my caucus. So I'm not quite sure how the Dems count the 51. But maybe they have a different type of math than I do.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You were in favor of a version of Medicaid expansion when it first came out, right? So what changed?
Well, I voted against Medicaid expansion 6 times, John, when I was, prior to this year. I was in favor of a bill that I worked with Tom Rust on that would reform Medicaid, because the biggest issue for me is we can't keep enlarging a system that is on the track to bankrupt the Commonwealth. It used to be 5% of our budget. Now it's over 20. It used to be, 800 and some thousand people. Now it's over 1.6 million people. We can't keep this cost curve. So, and I've got a bill in this year that would help people get off the Medicaid system. The big problem is it holds people hostage. If you make $1 more than the allowable limit, you lose all your benefits immediately. So people can't take the dollar an hour raise. They can't take the promotion to better themselves and their family. So I have a bill that gets that. It can't just be easy to get into Medicaid. It's also going to be easy to get off of Medicaid, and right now it's not. So I'm more interested in the reform piece of making Medicaid sustainable, not just continuing to bloat it.
Okay, so would you be willing to compromise on something that did the two of those things in tandem, that reformed the system so it's more efficient, better, and you get out the waste and the fraud? But, I mean, I don't know how the Republican caucus is going to fight this battle now, where you're going to have 51 Republicans standing against expanding Medicaid to 400,000 working Virginians. You can't use the argument of busting the budget, Glenn. That argument doesn't hold, because when the Republicans at the federal level tried to replace Obamacare, every version they came out with funded the Republican states that went for Medicaid expansion in perpetuity. So,
I agree, John, I agree with you 100%. The money at the federal level is there, and it's not going away. But in Virginia, we got to make sure when we do something and when we look at bringing people into a system, it's a sustainable system. And my argument is, and always has been, is if we're going to do anything, first and foremost, we need to make it sustainable. We all believe in a hand up when people are down, and all of us have probably had that time in our lives where we've known family members that they've needed that hand up. But Medicaid or welfare programs are not supposed to be a lifestyle. And that's the problem we have in Virginia. And part of that problem is self-created. So if we don't fix that, no, I can't put more people into a system that really it's not going to bust our budget and bankrupt us because I enlarge it. Even if I don't take more Fed money, we're bankrupting the Commonwealth just on the cost curve Medicaid is today. So my position is and always has been, we better reform this thing regardless of what we do with the feds, because it is unsustainable as it is today.
All right, so then wouldn't there be an opportunity then to kind of do the compromise that the president is doing right now with DACA, which I'm in favor of, which is, look, I got to reform the immigration system. Here's three things I want. I want security. I want a wall. I want to get rid of chain migration, and I want to get rid of these scam lottery work visas that are screwing our workers. So I want to get rid of those. And if we do that, then I'll be open to changing my position on DACA and getting that solved. That way we can fix it all at the same time. Why not take the same approach with Medicaid expansion and say, look, reform it and expand it and taking the money? Can't you do that?
I think we've always said that, make it sustainable, make it where this is responsible for Virginia and actually helps Virginians, and then there's a conversation. I'll give you one piece that has always had a problem, as our caucus we've had a problem with, and that is taking able-bodied, able-minded youth and all of a sudden shoving them on Medicaid. John, you and I both know you can't do that. I mean, at that point, you throw them into a government system that is built as a hostage system today. They probably don't care about health care right now, but all of a sudden they're moving along. They've got that small part-time job or whatever when in their youth. They find a girl they really like. They get engaged. They're always, oh, my God, health care is really, really important. And now I can't make more than X because I'll lose my Medicaid, but they should have never been on there to begin with. We got to be very careful of that slippery slope. I'm an economics major, and, it's always you look at what are you motivating people to do. And if you take an able-bodied, able-minded youth and shove them on a government-sustained system at an early age, it pushes them in one direction they should never be pushed in to begin with. And so that's what we have to be careful of. But I think there's discussions to be had, and we'll wait and see. But for me, it's all about if we're going to do this, and reform Medicaid, it's got to be done once, it's got to be done right, and it's got to be sustainable for the Commonwealth.
Glenn Davis, are you going to be one of the leaders in this debate?
John, if I'm asked and able to be, I would love to be. It's obviously, it's something I'm very passionate about, just because I'm a family that's has had the experiences, and I know firsthand some of the implications of our Medicaid system as it exists today. So I'd love to be part of trying to come up with how we reform the system, but obviously there are those that have been in there their whole lives, much more experience than I. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, but here's the difference, Glenn. You run a business, you have employees, you sign the front of checks, not the back. You ran for lieutenant governor, you got an RV, and you went all over the state 3 times around, put 200,000 miles on it, slept in it, and talked to hundreds of thousands of people. So the perspective that you bring to this debate is very unique, that maybe somebody's been in there for 30 years and they're an insurance executive or they're a lawyer, but they don't have the breadth of experience in talking to real Virginians that Glenn Davis has. That's why I think you ought to be the centerpiece of any debate. So,
John, I appreciate the comments, and I've always believed that the best way forward is to have people throw out ideas and potential solutions, and either prove them as potential good solutions or as potential bad solutions. So I hope that's kind of what evolved today is, and over time is a whole bunch of ideas coming to the table, and we'll find one that allows us to reform Medicaid.
Well, I'm excited about our new speaker. I know Kirk very well. He was a high school teacher, a varsity basketball coach where he won a lot of games, and I think it's going to be an interesting style that he brings in there. And you're kind of in a divided situation, and I know we got to get into substantive stuff, but do you have any anecdotes that you can give us from any of the new members you met, or anything that you heard that you thought was interesting on day one?
I've met a couple of my new colleagues and had some good discussions, and I haven't got a chance to meet all of them yet, but the ones that I have met on both sides of the aisle, they are very passionate about helping the citizens of Virginia. Like I said, I haven't quite had a chance to meet all of them yet, just the ones that are around me. I'm very excited over Kirk as the new speaker. Speaker Cox is going to be great, and just a story. I mean, you have a government teacher to government leader, John. Hey, there's not a better story for this. I mean, he used to teach students in school about the government that others created and led, and now there will be government teachers teaching their students about the changes in the government that Speaker Cox is going to be creating for Virginia. It's just an amazing story. You probably couldn't write a better book, but I'm really excited, and I think we're going to have a good year with him at the helm.
Glenn Davis, General Assembly 2018. What is your top legislative priority?
John, it's tax reform. I mean, I know this doesn't surprise you. I've been talking about it for 4 years. But I think our party needs to be bold. John, the Republicans used to be the party of ideas and bold initiatives, and somewhere along the line, we lost that. And now more than ever, it's time to get that back with some bold initiatives. And I think we saw it out of Washington because we have the same problem in Virginia. We have an outdated tax code, and it's time to reform Virginia's tax code and lead the way and show the rest of the nation how a state's tax code should be set up so it's sustainable through the 21st century. And that's what I'm excited about starting the process off with.
I tell you what, nobody's been a bigger advocate of doing both things than you have, Glenn Davis, and I appreciate that. We appreciate your energy. We need more Glenn Davises in government, whether it be in Virginia or Florida or Maryland or North Carolina or any place. We need more Glenn Davises. So I know you're looking forward to working with your colleagues. Let me ask you an uncomfortable question. So Danica Rome got sworn in yesterday. She's the first transgender House of Delegates member ever. We backed her, so I'm not shy about that. Pro-gay rights, as everybody knows, and I stand by that. And I think I've been on the right side of history for a very long time, and I'm not going to go further on it or relitigate that. But Kurt Cox a couple months ago said he wanted to change the way people are dressed in the House of Delegates from the calling somebody the gentle woman from Fairfax. He wanted to change that specifically because of Danica Rome's sex transition and not call her the gentle woman and just make it a generic term. Why would you do that?
John, so when I first came into the House, I believe Speaker Howell referred to everyone as gentlemen, and I guess that was always kind of the common term. I came from the city council where we had the councilmen, the councilwoman, then it got changed to the council lady, and so I think it was just kind of to streamline things. When I first walked in, I thought we would be addressing each other as the delegate from, or the senator from, obviously the other house. And it got changed over. And it maybe streamlines things, a little bit more of what people expect. It brings it into, kind of the, 21st century a little bit, and still keeps the tradition that we always have, but, kind of updates how we operate. I've got no problem referring. I've always believed that you refer to people as how they want to be referred to. John, back in the day, people would start to hyphenate their names, and now that's no big deal, and no one even thinks twice about it. But there was a time when, that was something that, people, was kind of awkward, and people didn't, understand or believe in, and that was commonplace. I've always believed this out of respect, that if someone, has to be addressed by whatever, and something as simple as, if someone wants to be addressed by their middle name, you address them by their middle name. I have firm beliefs when it comes to, different bills and legislation related to gender stuff and in the past. But when it comes to respect for someone and how they want to be addressed, I'm happy to address them, how they like to be addressed. And I actually like the change to the delegate from whatever. I just think that's, kind of bringing us, like I said, more current. But when I have the opportunity, I look forward to of speaking to Danica myself. If I have to ever, address a letter to her or, whenever, I'm happy to do so. However, she, would desire.
Great answer, Glenn. We're out of time. That was a great answer. That was excellent. Glenn Davis, Trucking the Truth on the John Fredericks Radio Network. That's why he's an FOJ, friend of John. We love Glenn Davis. That was a great answer, man. I got to replay that. That was a really good answer. Hey, we got to go.